Hashem, look at the phrase, Vihi Sha'amda. Vihi Sha'amda is a phrase as part of the Magid, that God kept his promise to the Jewish people. And the paragraph is Vihi Sha'amda Lavoseinu V'lanu. This is what stood for us and our forefathers, or our forefathers and us. Shelo Echad Bilvad, not only one person stood upon us, Amad Aleinu Chalosenu, stood upon us to destroy us, and was B'kol Dor Vador, in every generation. How are you doing, Aviel?
How are you, Rebbe?
Baruch Hashem. And tell me, who's this?
Brother.
What's your name?
Hillel.
Hillel. And Hillel's your younger brother?
Yeah, younger.
What grade are you in, Hillel?
I'm in 10th grade.
All right, Hillel. Grab Haggadah, Baruch Hashem. Grab Haggadah. I love it how you guys talk so similarly.
It's what everyone says.
Two Kohanim. Yeah. All right, so we're studying the passage of Vihisha Amda, Hillel. You know that passage in the Haggadah?
Which one?
Vihisha Amda.
Oh, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those have the Haggadahs. They all have them. What do you mean? This has it? Give it to me.
I like this one best.
Well, this guy is such a great big tzaddik. He's a gadol ador. Daniel Gladstein. I listened to his shiurim on all parsha, and he's so stark. He's amazing. You should listen to him on all parsha. He's so stark. She's also good as Erica Brown.
Yeah.
But I love Rav Daniel Gladstein. He's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, he's amazing. You would love him. Oh yeah. Trust me when I tell you, check him out. You'll love his Torah.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, Erica Brown's also amazing too. Okay, so we're studying the passage called Vihisha Amda, which is the paragraph that talks about how the enemies of the Jews in every generation, they tries to rise up against us and destroy us, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu always saves us from their hands. Do you have the place, Aiden? Can I get a few? This is a passage you need to know by heart, because every time we see a new one on the coming upon us, we've seen this act before. We've seen this before. We're not afraid of it. You know what I'm saying? We've seen your type before. That's what I was saying. Like this woman who's not but a leading candidate for mayor of DC. She that's what she said. She's against the Zionist lobby and she's anti the apartheid Zionist state. So we know this type. We've seen this type before in our history. We know what those code words are. Those are code words for I hate Jews. That's what those are. Those are code words for I hate Jews. And so it's our responsibility to stand up against her, rise up against her, and not let us be intimidated. So let's go through this paragraph. First, Aviel, please read it in the Hebrew, and then we'll go through some things. We're doing Vihisha Amda, Rabbi Eitan.
Oh, right.
Yeah. You know Eitan, Aiden?
Of course I know Eitan.
How do you know Eitan?
I know him for a long time.
All right. Is he a wrestler?
No.
Okay, Aviel, read it.
Visham de Lavasinu Velanu, Shlo Echad Bilvad Amad Aleinu V'chalosenu, El Shebachol Dor Vador Omdi Malinu V'chalosenu, V'akadosh Baruch Hu Matzilin Miyadzam.
Right, and Eitan's going to sing it for us. Eitan. No, I'm just teasing. You don't have to do it, Eitan. Eitan has a beautiful voice, but we're not going to make him sing. Okay, so this paragraph really is a continuation. It's a very here. Take Haggadah, Ezra. Take Haggadah. Vihisha Amda. So this paragraph is very well known because it's it's an evergreen. You know what an evergreen means? What's your brother's name again?
Hello.
It's an evergreen. So it's basically the idea that in every generation there are people who try to destroy the Jews. And this is a continuation in the previous paragraph, which says God keeps his promise and says that there were the Egyptians would enslave us, or that there were people being enslaving us for 400 years, and then God will take us out with a mighty hand. And that's what this paragraph is saying. So the medieval commentaries, their name is called the Rishonim. The medieval commentaries are called the Rishonim. You know what the later commentaries are called? The Achronim, which means the later ones. The Rishonim asked, I don't understand. This promise that God made to us in the previous paragraph, look at the previous paragraph, Eitan. Baruch Shomer Avtachto Israel. What's it a promise for? Is it a promise in every generation? It's just a promise for what? Just what?
The Israelites.
Yeah, just Egypt. So what are you talking about? This promise is stood as God only promised us for Egypt. He didn't promise he's going to save us in every generation. So where do we get the fact that God promised he's going to save us in every generation? So the Shibbolei Aleket answers this question. You know what the Shibbolei Aleket is? Shibbolei Aleket is a 13th century Italian commentary, Rishon, and he answers the name of his brother, Rav Binyamin, that he says that God showed Avram not just the exile into Egypt, but all the exiles for all of history. And he promised him to redeem Israel from that. And so that's what the promise to redeem Abraham's descendants was, not just for the generation from Egypt, but for all generations. That's how the Shibbolei Aleket answers that. We'll see other questions a little bit. Some say it's not, the Maimonides doesn't have Vehi She'amda, and this is what stood for us, but he has He She'amda. It has stood for us. Not this is, and this is what stood for us, but this is what stood for us. And according to this slight change, you see the difference, Hillel? It's the letter Vav that's different. You see that difference?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it's just the letter Vav. So according to this change, it's not a continuation of the previous paragraph, but it's a new drasha. And it's a new concept. And basically, this is not a continuation of the previous one, but it's the beginning of a new paragraph, which is going to discuss the concept of the Bikurim and renewal. So the practice is, when you say this paragraph, to hold up your hands, to close down, to cover up the matzahs and cover the matzahs and hold up the cup of wine. Why? Why do we cover the matzahs? Hey Dan, why are we covering the matzahs and holding the cup of wine? Anybody ever wonder about that?
Not to embarrass you.
Well, we want to give prominence to the wine, but why are we holding the wine in this moment? Why are we picking up the wine? Why are we picking up the wine? So
I mean, it's like a promise.
it's like a cup of salvation.
Yeah.
The cup of salvation. Also, it's a prop. Everybody needs props. I mean, I have props. Look at me. I got props. Everybody needs props at the Seder. Baruch Hashem. You need props. Okay, so let's look at some of the commentaries on this passage. I have a lot of commentaries on it. What is the Vihi? It says Vihi Sha'amda. So I have here 7 different explanations of the phrase Vihi. Vihi, and it's a Hebrew word meaning and it. And this is what stood for us. So what does it mean what does the Baal Haggadah mean when it says Vihi Sha'amda? So the most common explanation is what we just said, but we'll have a little bit of a knitch to it. What's a knitch? By the way, I see Shimon Katz is on the Zoom. Shimon, imagine if I was walking around in what's that place in Petach Tikva, one of those kids. If they saw this Streimel and Bekisha, they would have been so happy. Shimon was with me when they saw the white Streimel and the gold Bekisha, but if they had seen this, forget about it.
I will be happy to go with you next time when you're wearing that that Streimel and Becker.
All right. Thank you, Shimon. Thank you, Shimon. Okay, so the Rishonim, Shimon's got a good sense of humor. So the Rishonim explain. So this refers to the previous paragraph where God promised He's going to save Abraham, and it was called the Bris Bein Absarim. And so therefore, that's what this is. This promise that God made to Abraham is also standing for us now. The Grizz, the Brisker Rav, also explains on the basis of Tosfos that even though, this is a very nice idea, even though the merit, we have Schus Avos, we have the merits of our ancestors, that's expired. I don't know where he got that from. He says that Schus Avos expired, but the covenant, when God made a treaty, that can never expire. And so therefore, the covenant that God made with Abraham never expired. And then he asked the question, what about the fact that we just asked before with the Shibbolei Eleket's answer, which was, what do you mean God only promised Abraham about Egypt? He didn't promise about all the generations. What was Shibbolei Eleket's answer to that? Shibbolei Eleket's answer, anybody remember? Was that God showed Abraham all the exiles. At that moment, he showed him all the exiles. And also, another answer is that in Egypt, God said you'll be in a land that doesn't belong to you for 400 years. But how many years were they actually in Egypt? 210. And so therefore, since this therefore includes other exiles, so each one you like 3 months in 3 months in Poland, 6 months in Latvia, and at the end you add it all up. Get it all off. So that's another answer. Who gives that answer? That is that's an ancient one. And the Rokeach, who's the Rokeach? Anybody know the Rokeach? The Rokeach is it translates as the perfumer. It's Rabbi Eliezer of Worms. He died in, I think, like the year 1237. You can look it up, maybe 1207. I think 1237. He was a student of Rabbi Yehuda Chassid. You can look it up. The Rokeach, Rabbi Eliezer of Worms. He also writes, when it says in the Bris Bein Absarim, the Gamas Hagoy, that comes to include other exiles. So that's another explanation to this question. Okay. Anyway, there's another explanation. That what does Vihisha Amda mean? It means this is praise that God swore that he was going to save us from the nations. That if God had not done this with an oath, it would have been canceled because of our sin. It's only because that this is referring to the fact that God made an oath with us. That's the only reason why our sins don't revoke the oath. That the Chukas HaPesach writes a different explanation. He says, Isha Amda is coming to give thanks to God. It's just like God fulfilled the covenant between the pieces, the Bris Bein Absarim, so too he's going to fulfill another covenant in the Torah. And what is that covenant? That's in Parashas Bichu Kosai. That says, Afgam bezos biosam be'eretz ovehem lo ma'astim v'lo ga'alti l'chalosam. That I won't destroy you, even when you're in the nations of the world. So meaning say, the same way God kept this promise to Abraham, he's also going to keep the promise that he says in Parshas Bechukosai that he's not going to destroy the other nations of the world. And the Magid Dvar of Yaakov, I don't even know who wrote that. I'm sorry. You can look it up. Magid Dvar of Yaakov, who wrote that Haggadah. By the way, I'll tell you a story. My mother-in-law says, you should have, basically, she said, wouldn't it be nice if the Haggadah also had the Shabbos mirrors? Because a lot of people put away their Shabbos benchers on Pesach because they have chametz on them, and they bench with the Haggadah, but then you don't have this miros. So she said, wouldn't it be nice if somebody had that? So I said, okay, let me look it up. Hey, how are you doing? Welcome to our yeshiva. Welcome. So I said, let me look in Gemini. Gemini said, I said, do these things exist? The Haggadah with Shabbos Miros. And Gemini said, yes. Koren publishes a beautiful edition of the Haggadah with Shabbos Miros. I said, oh, okay, that's nice to know. But then I went to their website and I'm like, you know what? Let me just call my friend who basically runs Koren in America. And Yossi Pollack. So I called Rabbi Yossi Pollack. I said, can I get the Haggadah with Shabbos Miros? He goes, what? We don't do that. I said, Gemini says you do. He says, that's not true. He said, it's not true. So Gemini was lying to me. Gemini, who do you believe? I said, I don't believe you. Gemini says you do it. What?
Have you learned your lesson yet? Are you going to continue using Gemini, or what do you think?
I think he should learn his lesson. If Gemini says it's true, who is he to say it's not? What do you mean if I learn my lesson, Aiden? That's disrespectful.
All the time.
That's disrespectful.
I would never do that.
Yeah.
Rabbi,
Okay.
this is so ancient. It says in the opening that he was the Maradatra of Yerushalayim in the 18th century. 17th.
That's not ancient. That's right around here. Okay, so beautiful. He was the Rav Rashi of yours. Thank you. So he says it's talking about where it says that Kadosh Baruch Hu chishev es haketz. It says it in Haggadah, meaning say even though the nations of the world want to destroy us because of our sin, just like we find by Bilam that he mentions the sin of the golden calf, nevertheless, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is choshev aleinu rak l'tov. He only thinks good, and so therefore, this concept that God looks at us and always looks for the good in us stands us in every generation. Maybe one or two more answers. This is from the Arizal, the great Kabbalist. He says, who is the he referring to? He Sha'amda, or this is one that stands, that the he refers to? Hillel, the Shechina. The Shechina, he is feminine, refers to the Shechina that is found with us in all of our exiles. And she's always saving us from those who are rising up against us. And the Maharsham explains that differently, and this is relevant to us. The Marsham says that it says in Chazal that the miracles of Egypt are the root of all the future exile, of all the future redemptions. That the miracles that happen in Egypt are the root for all the future redemptions. Like it says, he quotes a couple of verses here, but that's the idea that Egypt, and this is so true, if you think about it, Egypt symbolizes the exiles and the redemption for future times. How many people have found sustenance from the Exodus story? So if the other nations in the world find sustenance, Kal v'chomer does our nation find sustenance for it. So therefore, we have all found sustenance from this, and that's what's going on. This story has inspired V'hisha Amda Lanu Lavosenu V'lanu in every generation. That's just like this story happened. It's given us nourishment, fuel for every generation to believe that we can make a difference and we will rise up. Yes, Jeff.
Did they read this during the Holocaust?
For sure they read it in the Shoah. We know, for example, that we know for sure that they had Seders in the Shoah.
And their communities were being wiped out.
Yeah, they took strength from it.
Grandpa, it's gone.
Look this up, Aviel. Look up in Gemini. Were there Seders in the concentration camps?
I have ChatGPT if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. It's probably better. We're down on Gemini today because of what they said. Okay, the Mariel Diskin writes. Okay, no, let's go on to the next question. What does it mean when it says Shelo echad bilvad amar aleinu l'chalosenu? That not one nation alone, not only one nation, not just one nation stood upon us to destroy us. What does that mean? What do you say, Eitan? There's
a bunch of people that were trying to destroy us, not just one.
Not a bunch of nations. Okay, let's see what they say.
ChatGPT says the PSS and the Rebbe led Seders in the Warsaw Ghetto.
And that's in the Warsaw Ghetto. But what about in the concentration camps? The PSS, the Rebbe is a descendant of Rebbe Melech.
Yeah, they say some prisoners risked their execution.
What? Oh, yeah, read it. It's beautiful.
Some prisoners risked execution to gather secretly. A piece of bread might be treated like matzah. The focus became meaning, not the ritual perfection. Okay, maybe that's a little iffy though.
There's a famous passage in Bergen-Belsen where they said a prayer before eating their bread on Seder night. They said every year we eat matzah, but now we have no matzah, and we know that if we don't eat this bread, we're going to die of starvation. So view this bread, God, as though we are fulfilling your commandment and eating the matzah. They said that's the famous prayer before. Look for that, the prayer before eating bread on Seder night in Bergen-Belsen. I think it's coming back to me now. Yeah. When you talk about the rituals that they observed in the concentration camp, I just say there's one story. This is Hugo Grin, who was a survivor. He tells a story that he was in a concentration camp called Liberos, and it was Hanukkah, and his father had saved a little bit of margarine and to put together a Chanukiah to light the candle and risk their life. So he said to his father, "How can we do this? How can we waste our rations to light the menorah, we need every single calorie because the Nazis, they calculated exactly how many calories you need to live, and they gave you less than that. So his father said, "We know that you can go up to a few weeks without eating food, and we know you can go up to a few days without drinking. We've seen this, but you can't even live 1 second without hope." That's what he said. Never heard that? Okay, well that's a true story. You didn't find anything?
I found it.
What does it say?
Here's the prayer. We have Ribono Shel Olam. You know that we want to fulfill your will, observe the prohibition of chametz on Pesach. But you also command us v'chai b'hem, that we should live by the mitzvos, not die by them. Because of the danger to life, we are forced to eat bread. Therefore, you are ready and prepared to fulfill your commandments of preserving life. May it be your will that you redeem us soon so we may observe your laws properly.
Was that in Bergen-Belsen?
That's what it says.
Yeah, wow. Wow, once in a while I remember something. Baruch Hashem. I don't know how that happened, but there's still hope for me. Okay, the Shibboleth, look at that bravery that these survivors were doing. Or I don't even know if they survived. Okay, so the Shibboleth says that when he says not only one generation, means say not only the Egyptians, but in every generation. And so therefore, some take out the phrase to destroy us and say to subjugate us. Okay, so the Chayim LaRoche explains, the verse says, "B'kum aleinu Adam," that a man will rise against us and not a king, because the heart of the king is in the hand of God. Meaning to say, even though a man rose upon us to do bad, nevertheless, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saving us from his hand. Okay, we'll just do one more and this. We'll go to the next question then. So some say, the Sfas Emes writes, Shalo Echad, this is a beautiful way to, this is the beautiful way to end this little discussion. This is a beautiful thought from the Sfas Emes. Right? The Sfas Emes. So he says, the Haggadah Sufa Marim says, what does it say in the text here? It says, Shelo Echa Bilvad Amad Aleinu L'Chalosenu. Not only one stood upon us to destroy us. So, what does that mean? So he says, in every generation they rise up against us because we're not one. Shelo Echad. Because we're not one. Meaning to say, we don't have focus to God. But Sfas Emes writes, because we're not unified, because we're not about the one. Why do our problems come? Either because we're not about the one, or because we're not unified. And I have to say, okay, this is going to be deeply disturbing to say, but I promise you, there are many Jews who are supporting this woman for DC mayor. Many Jews, even though she's an anti-Semite. And this is the problem, because we're not unified. And this is the problem. The problem comes from the Jews not being unified and being a common force against wickedness. So we'll stop here. But this is obviously this paragraph. You have to read it. I want to recommend that the prayer from Bergen-Belsen for the bread before eating bread. You read that right before you do V'hisha Amda. Now I want to recommend in your Seder, you pull out that prayer that they read at Bergen-Belsen and say, it's just, imagine the courage it took to say that prayer. All right. Let us daven mincha now. Yasher koach. Wow.